You're listening to Women in Wellness, a program to help you create gorgeous growth for your blissful business in health and wellness. I'm Dr. Gabby, holistic health expert and founder of Women in Wellness, a one-of-a-kind course and community designed to empower and inform you about how to build a purposeful and profitable holistic business. And I'm very excited about my guest today. She's a good friend and an awesome health coach, Jaime Nolan. Jaime's the founder of Time to Be You Health Coaching and co-founder of House of Trivity. For 20 years, she's been helping her clients to make lifestyle changes that produce real and lasting results. Hey.
Hi.
And this is my first in-person interview that we're doing for the podcast. So if you're listening, Jaime and I are in the same space together in Miami, but if you're watching the video, then obviously you know that already. And Jaime is a terrific local health coach and speaker, and she is part of a new company.
Yes.
That is leading retreats and doing amazing transformation. And most of your clients tend to be women, correct?
Correct.
And she's been working in the industry for 20 years. So I want her to tell us a little bit about her journey into wellness. Before we started the interview, you said you felt like this was the only thing that you could do or you were meant to do. So how did you decide that, or how did you figure that out?
I mean, as a kid, I was super active. I didn't really like school at all. I was not very good at sitting still. I basically just barely made it through enough to get myself to college. Got myself to college on a soccer scholarship. Was basically
soccer.
Cool. I got injured in my freshman year, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to do this kind of thing forever." But I was like, I really wanted to do something in the sports and wellness world. I was a PE major first, and then I found exercise science, and I was like, "Oh, this is it." So I got involved in exercise science and figured out all the different things I could do with that, and
nice.
Was a personal trainer first and then found health coaching.
Nice. So what's it like to be a personal trainer?
It's super fun.
Did you always do it in Miami?
No, I was a personal trainer in New York.
Did you have celebrity clients?
I had a few local news people.
Okay.
and a few very high up financial, those kind of people. Every so often you would see their name on the top of the Wall Street Journal, and you'd be like, "Oh, I see that guy sweating every day."
Right.
So
I had the same thing with massage, because I started my massage career in Miami, and it was in the early 2000s when all the celebrities were coming, all the J-Lo and the Shakira and the whole crew was coming through. And I was working the hotels on the beach, and a lot of my clients were rock stars and actors and that kind of thing. And it's funny because when you're in the room with them, right, and you're training them, it's the same sweaty person.
Exactly. Well, the thing for me is
all the other clients.
I'm horrible at recognizing people. So someone would come up, and I'd just be like, "Hi, how you doing?" I didn't really know, and then someone else would be like, "That's so and so," and I'd be like, "Oh, who's that?" I still wouldn't know. And ABC was across the street because I worked at Reebok Sports Club. So all the soap opera people, all of them would come in all the time, and I never had any idea who any of them were.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing the personal training in New York, and then at some point you went to IIN to get the health coaching thing.
So I was enrolled in IIN before I left New York.
Okay.
I met my husband, and I wasn't going to be able to complete it, so I dropped out and then waited another 10 years to go back in. Yeah. So I came to Miami, and I was a personal trainer here for a little while. Then I was a PE teacher for a little while. Then I coached high school athletics. I had 3 kids in the middle of all of that. And then I worked for a company that did preschool PE. So I had to travel around in my car.
Doing
little kids. Well, and the worst part was I had a bunch of little kids at home. So all day I was with preschoolers, and I was like, this is not for me. This is horribly not for me. Because all I would do is I would yell at my kids because I didn't want them to act like the preschool kids that I saw all day, because I was like, you have to be better behaved than this. And then I was like, this isn't going to go well. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you finally get back to the IIN curriculum, and it changed a lot in those 10 years, I know for sure.
Yes.
Because I have students that did it at the beginning and the end. And I remember when they were giving out the iPods.
Yeah.
And you would listen to the lessons on the iPod, and then all of a sudden it was like this whole other thing.
Yeah, well, I got in right when they moved over to the iPads, and you had to have an iPad because it only was on an app. You couldn't sign in on the computer, so it had to be. That was like part of the incentive. It was that if you signed up, you would get a free iPad in the process.
Right. So you went back to it, you did the health coaching, and then you sort of added that to the mix of things, and you started focusing more on the coaching instead of the training.
Yeah, so I basically added it into my clients, and then I added a lot of it into the kids that I coached. I coached high school athletics. So I did a lot of work with them because their eating habits was always like horrible.
Right.
So we would work a lot on and all the positive messaging. When you work with high school kids, they're all day, you're just bombarded by stuff that really doesn't, serve them. So.
Right. And so tell me how you managed to sustain yourself in this industry. I think one of the things that's so important to the women in this community, like the women that listen to this podcast and the women in wellness community, is that it's hard to make a living.
It is.
As an independent contractor or freelancer, entrepreneur, whatever you call yourself, that's not always easy. And you've managed to do the personal training thing, the health coaching thing, the PE thing, all these different things. So is there some secret to building the practice or retaining the clients or, moving to a new city, moving from New York to Miami, starting over? How do you do that?
I mean, I think for me, it was always a matter of really searching for my ideal clients. I try to focus myself really well on the people that I serve well, and then, go where they are. I mean, I'm constantly networking. I am always trying to find new things to do. I always want my clients to be getting really the best service possible. I mean, 80 to 90% of my business comes from referrals. So if they're happy, then they're going to refer me their friends. So for me, it's always about just really kind of serving the people I have as best I possibly can, getting more education, and knowing that it's going to change. I mean, for me, it's what I started off doing was very weights and cardio and now we've moved into much more, and then it was much more food, and now it's a lot more mindfulness. So it's always a combination of those things, but you kind of have to shift with who your people are.
Right. And so you mentioned the networking and the referral network and things like that. And that, in my mind, I kind of lump all that together into community, right? There's this support system around you. And some of the people are mentoring you and other people are referring to you and some people are working. And it's all part of, this community. What do you think? I mean, do you think you can do it on your own if you're not doing that networking and building that support system? Do you think you can just manage out there the lone wolf style?
No.
I don't think so either.
I really don't. I mean, it really, to me,
I've also been in this industry now going on 20 years, and I've tried to do the, on my own, independent, I don't need anybody, and you last 5 minutes.
Well, and it's also because you don't even know what's working. You really, I need a sounding board. I need people to be able to be that's a great idea. That is a horrible idea. You need to charge more. That's a big one on mine. Don't undersell yourself. All that stuff. You need the community to be able to be yeah, this is awesome, and that's horrible, and all those things make just your general day-to-day stuff so much better. You feel like you're part of something, and I think that is really important for humans in general. So
right. So you mentioned that one of the challenges is knowing how much to charge and charging what you're worth. Are there other challenges that you have, you've had a breakthrough? You were I used to do it like this, and I'm thinking of someone. I talked to someone yesterday who's interested in our community, the Women in Wellness community, and she was saying, I like everything. I want to do everything. I feel like I'm pulled in a million directions. I feel really fragmented. How do I streamline it? How do I find that thing that's the right thing and the person who's the right person to serve? I mean, are there things like that were initially, inhibiting you, but then you got through it?
I mean, when I first started personal training, I lived in New York by myself. I needed to make my ridiculously high rent. And I was like, I will take anyone, like literally anyone. I had the craziest set. If you looked at my clients, you were like, what is this? And eventually because I had these people that didn't fit like my model or whatever, they wouldn't show up, they wouldn't pay very well. Like it was always just a mess. And then once I sort of got into, this is my niche, these are my people, then I just really ended up with it working a lot better. It's a lot smoother. So if you can define what you're doing, who you want to work with, then it's easier to find those people, because you could just have to figure out where they are and how to get in touch with them and how to, get them into your community. It makes it a lot easier. Like finding your niche is definitely the thing that for me really improved everything.
Did you feel like you also had to create boundaries? Like you had to kind of, fire some clients or say no to opportunities and focus on other things?
Well, and I think that's always the hardest part, because you're like, oh, look at this opportunity. It's going to make
shiny object
over here and one other one over there. And you also always have that feeling like, oh, if I don't take this, it's not going to work. Like, oh, okay, I'll just grab onto this because I need this money or I need this time to be spent or that kind of stuff. Then if you can really, focus on what you want, then the path opens up. You end up where you need to be. I mean, sometimes it's slightly different than what you thought, but, in general, you sort of keep moving down it and figure out what it is. I mean, when you see all the shiny objects, I mean, there's in health and wellness, there's a million things you can do.
I know. And I feel like some people, they just keep taking trainings after trainings. What I like about you is that you would take a training and then you would use it, right? Yeah. Like you do the personal training and then you be a personal trainer and then you do IIN and then you do that.
Right.
But some people, I know some people,
they're collectors of certificates.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they're not practicing.
Right. Well, and I think that there's some stuff that you take for yourself, right? There's things that you want to learn about for yourself. There's, things that, they've helped my practice. I've done tons of different meditation things for myself. I would never call myself a meditation expert. Like, I like a lot of stuff, but most of it's personal. The stuff that like if you're going to take a certificate, if you're going to get a certification, especially a bigger one, use it. If you're not going to use it, then why become an expert in it?
Right.
Share your gift.
Just do it.
Another
thing that we talk about a lot in Women in Wellness is this, like, you don't have to do it perfectly. So you were a little bit nervous about making the videos. And part of that is like, oh, well, how's it going to look and sound and right? But a lot of this is like, that doesn't matter so much. Like, just putting your passion out there, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable, even if it's a little imperfect, is better. Right. And right before this interview, we're talking about you like Marie Forleo. She's someone that you look up to. And, she just does stuff.
Yeah. She just is like, I'm going to try this and see if it works. And if it works, great. I mean, once I really identified that my people were the people that are like me, like, I'm a hot mess. It's disastrous sometimes. Like, sometimes it's all falling apart. But you know what? Those are the people I end up connecting with. They end up really thinking that I figured something out when I don't really feel like I figured it out. But as long as I know just a little bit more than them,
right, then
it looks as if I have. And, I also don't give myself enough credit for a lot of those things. So sometimes it's great to be able to just share your story. Like, hey, the whole day fell apart, but let's see what we can do tomorrow. And,
right,
and people connect with that because nobody's perfect. It's not possible. Right. It's never going to be perfect. No matter what you do, there's always going to be another version of your website. There's always going to be, new videos. There's always going to be something that's, different than how you started, but you got to start somewhere.
Right. And so what is this latest thing that you're doing, this thing that you co-founded, this retreat thing? Tell me about that.
So House of Tree is a experiential journey is what we're calling it. And it's really about finding your whole self. So we work on career and love and health and how that all translates into just your life and how you can really just, if you look inside yourself, you can figure out what you want to be doing and how to shift yourself into that path.
Nice. So how important is it that those things are in balance? Like, is balance really something that we can achieve?
I think that the idea that it's all going to be perfectly balanced is impossible. Like, it's never going to be all or nothing. Like, it's never going to be all. Like, it's never going to be nothing. It's just that there's some middle ground where you just kind of have to, like, work through it. Like, it always is something that is, okay, yeah, I'm not spending enough time on my career because my family is really important right now because of something, and because of that, my health is suffering. Okay, but you just need to be aware of it. Okay, now, as whatever that family thing solves, let's shift back into taking care of our health a little more and maybe a little bit more of our career. So you can always, it doesn't mean that you have to be balanced. It just means you need to be aware.
Okay, so now that you've been in the industry for such a long time, do you see certain patterns? Like, are there certain things that people are dealing with now that are more prevalent or more common than before? Like, do you see certain things? I mean, one of the things that I notice is people are completely addicted to their technology.
Yes.
They can, like, never put it down. And then they wonder, like, why they have sleep problems or what, like, attention or focus problems or whatever. I mean, are there certain things that you're seeing with your clients that are more common?
It's almost as if people have figured out, like, sort of the exercise and food part of it in the past, like, 10, 15 years. That's really been the upward swing of, oh yeah, I need to work out and I need to eat better. They've gotten that. Like, now it's stress, sleep, technology, like, you know, I need a break. And it's interesting because people seem to know what it is, but they can't stop.
Right.
And so they're putting a lot of pressure on their body in general. Like, hey, I'm going to work out really, really hard and I'm going to do it's this perfectionist. It's just moved itself from perfectionist of other things to this perfectionist of, like, okay, I'm going to be totally connected all the time. And, right. You know, if you can let go of it, you're much happier.
And I really liked, we were both part of this Women in Power Expo a few weeks ago, and we both gave talks. And in your talk, you gave the Shit to Shift acronym, which I really liked. And I think the shit one was it struggle or stress?
Struggle.
Trauma.
Struggle, hurt,
right?
Insecurities, and trauma.
Right. So these are the things that you think that people are carrying that need to be resolved, right?
Right. So these are the things that affect your life, and
okay.
they're the things that can either, they're the things that sort of point you in the next direction, right? So, like, it's all kind of how you deal with those things. So everybody has stress. Everybody has struggle. Everybody has hurt. Everybody has insecurities. Everybody has some kind of trauma. And, you know, what makes your thing, like, what makes one person see this, like, hey, my father died when I was 11, and that one person is like, I'm never going to love anyone. I'm not going to be in any relationships. And somebody else is like, I see this as an opportunity. Life is short. I want to tell everyone I know how much I love them. How, you know, I want to make sure I connect with other people's kids.
I mean, you have Tony Robbins. Like, his dad walked out and then he became like Tony Robbins.
Right, exactly. But that's that
right.
thing. Is that, like, it's all really how you deal with it and how you know, like, the struggle. Like, if your job is really, really hard, like, how do you make it better? How do you see it? How can you see the things into the positive?
Right. And then so through the work that you're doing yourself and with the people you work with, then you're taking people through a transformative process to get to the shift side. Right. And I'm trying to remember what the shift side is as well. Something.
Self-awareness.
Okay. I only heard the talk once in my defense.
You're doing
a good job. I remember that I really liked it. I remember the T was transformation.
Yes. So it's self-awareness.
Right.
Healing.
Mm-hmm. Introspection or something.
Yes,
right?
Very good. Introspection,
feelings,
and transformation.
Right.
And they don't have to go in order.
Okay.
So that's, like, one of the things, like, it's like the stages of grief, but they're the stages of healing. So you're gonna make sure that you really, sometimes you just have to be aware of the fact that these things are your things. Like, these are your shit. Like, this is your shit. This is the stuff that you use to make your decisions. So if you can just have that self-awareness, you're, like, one step closer to making decisions in a positive way. You know, once you have the healing, like, sometimes you have to forgive yourself for something that's happened. Like, if it's happened, okay, you don't have to forgive that person, but you have to forgive yourself for the situation. If you can forgive that person, great. You can, doesn't mean you have to forget about it. You just have to be able to get past it. And then to have the introspection, I mean, to be able to look at it and be like, that was a situation. It's just a situation. Like,
I feel like we're getting to a point, and not everybody's there, but I feel like we're moving more in this direction where people are taking more accountability. Yes. And I feel like this self-awareness and this introspection is the first part of not blaming everyone and everything for the way that you feel.
Yes.
And for your state of being, and whether you're happy or you're not happy.
Right.
Right? Like, I feel like people are starting to catch on that you can't just like, oh, it's the politicians, or oh, it's my boss, or oh, it's my partner, right?
Right. Well, and I think that the thing is too, a lot of it you can't change. Like, so what are you going to do about it? Like, you can't change what happened in the past.
Right.
You can only deal with what you've got going on right now. You can't, look into the future and be like, oh, this is going to happen, so I'm not going to do this. Like, you can only deal with right now. So, like, if you're always making decisions from the past, then you're always going to be doing the same thing over and over again. And if you want to make some kind of transformation, you got to change the way you look at it.
Right. Right. So what kind of transformations are you seeing in the people that you work with? Are people like making these shifts? Do you see it happening?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Because you see it happen, you like see it in their face, you see it in their physical body. And then they come back and they're like, this is what happened. Like, they're so excited about it. It's great. I love it. It's like my favorite part is when, like, my favorite part of personal training would always be when, like, people got something, like something physical, like they couldn't do, and then they got it. My favorite part of health coaching would be like when they sort of like would get something and they'd be like, oh, this isn't that bad. Like, there'd be a moment. There's always this moment. And with this, it's like the moments are huge. The people really get, there's something that they've been holding on to for years and years. And if they can release it, it's awesome. And if they can also be able to be like, oh, every time I do this, it's because of this, I'm not going to make that decision anymore. It makes such a big difference in their life.
Right.
And all their relationships, like all their family relationships, all their friendships, all of that stuff.
Right.
There's always like an actual like movement over some big shift.
How much of it is knowing what you need to do differently, and how much of it is something else? Like, I don't know, courage or motivation, or like, how much of it is just knowing how to do it? I mean, I think
there's probably like 50% is just knowing. Like, hey, I'm aware of what this is. I need to like, oh, it's happening again. And, wow, I'm doing this. This is happening. This situation is happening the exact same way as this every other time that this, okay, that's awareness. Like, that alone makes a big difference. But I mean, I think like the vulnerability piece of it is like the part that is always huge. When people are ready to just share their vulnerability, like, you would see vulnerability in someone else as strength, right? But you see it in yourself as weakness, which is weird. But everybody does it because we're all weird. But it's that idea that you're, like, when you're being vulnerable, everyone else is like, wow, look at how strong you are. But when you're being vulnerable, you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. So it's being able to sort of share that vulnerability, being able to see like, hey, I do this because I feel vulnerable. And it really makes you just like start to realize like, oh, wait, if I share these things, people can connect with me. If I share these things change.
Right. Amen.
Yes.
Okay, so if people want to come on one of your retreats or do the coaching with you or any of this kind of stuff, how do they connect? How do they find you and work with you?
You can find me on timetobeyou.com, which is the number 2 and the letter B for the inside of that. And then it's so confusing.
So we should probably like spell that out for you. So it's time, the word time, T-I-M-E, and then 2, the number 2, and then B, the letter B,
and then
Y-O-U. And then the word U, Y-O-U.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then you can also find us on House of Trinity. We are in the middle of redoing our website, but our newsletter is up there so we can get all of our people signed up.
And you have a retreat coming up in December.
December 3rd in Miami. We are doing
and people can come from all over. If
definitely.
For that.
Yep. It's going to be a really good, it's all about the shit to shift and how to really get into yourself. And then we're going to have a 3-day retreat in February.
Nice.
To be announced exactly when. So we'll have a location.
Yay! Thank you so much, Jaime, for being here with us. This was super fun.
Yes.
And I love that you've had such longevity in this industry. I think it's really rare, and I think it's really cool.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. You can join the Women in Wellness Club at women-in-wellness.com.